think there's a few people here. Give me some time for other people to join. This is working, right? I want to do that. Thank you. Going on social media right now. Hello to Counterfactor. Oh man, sorry. I'm in the yawn. I had a busy day yesterday. Had to take the girls to this dance clinic they were doing, and then they had a birthday party that was on an ice skating rink, so that was fun. What have I been reading recently? Oh man, I wish I should have grabbed that. I can't talk. I should have grabbed it because it's upstairs. Make sure I say everything right here. I have been reading Blood Tide by Sophie Burnham. It's book 2 in the Ex Romano series. Ex Romana. I think Ex Romana is the proper way of saying that. It's really good. I really have been enjoying it. It's an alternate history about the Roman Empire surviving and colonizing North America, and it's focuses a lot on a group of people who are trying to declare independence from the Roman North American provinces. They're not called North America, obviously. It's about that. And all of that is an absolute lie. So spoiler alert, but it's all a lie. That's not true. And finding out what's not true and why it's not true is part of the like overall mystery of the story. So it's a fun little unexpected. It's not technically an alternate history, even though it is nevertheless presents itself as one. And nevertheless, it's really good. I definitely recommend definitely checking it out if you get the chance, because it's a very fascinating way of doing alternate history. It presents this alternate history, and then you learn it's all a lie, and it's really good. I really enjoy it. It's kind of like, man, I feel like I'm giving away too much, but I still think you should probably still enjoy if you read it. Imagine 1984, except for it's all Roman themed, and then you kind of get the idea. Say, Fire Lord Marklin, how's it going? Since I've been reading him lately, was curious if you ever read much of Studs Terkel. Yeah, I read The Good War. It was very good book. I always try to recommend people check it out. It's definitely a unique way of looking at the history of World War II. So yeah, I have read that. I haven't read any of his other stuff. I do want to. It's on my long list of stuff to read, but I definitely do recommend if anyone hasn't already, go check out The Good War. Have you tried processing various historical forks using a neural network? Gemini does this perfectly. No, not really. I've tried occasionally experimenting with that kind of stuff, AI, LLMs, whatever you want to call them, and I've never been like that impressed. It's all very like general in my experience, and sometimes it's like I've seen this before. You know what I'm saying? Like I've read this alternate history before, which makes me realize like there's probably a good chance some of them are just copying things. This especially happens, so it's like, I tend to just do it my own fashion way when trying to researching, processing, all that kind of stuff. Uh, you had a blackout? Oh, that sucks. I haven't really had we've had some really cold days here. Um, but thankfully we haven't lost any electricity because that wouldn't have been fun. I always try to like game plan what would happen if we do lose electricity or the heat in the middle of winter. Probably just go to my parents. Hopefully they have it. All right. We're starting to get a few people. Well, yeah, this was pretty last minute. I just happened to know I was going to be basically home alone for a few hours. I'm just like, well, I'm eventually going to need a break from writing, so I might as well, see who's online, who wants to talk. As some of you guys probably know, I'm going to be a keynote speaker at Intelligent Speech 2026. I'm in the hold on. I am in the afternoon. I post this on the Discord. Yeah, I'm in the afternoon. This is Eastern time, so I'm at 1:50 to 2:30 Eastern time. I'll be one of the keynote speakers. It looks like right after lunchtime, so everyone will have a full tummy. um, so I'm going. I've always been sort of fascinated by the friendship of Gorgy Zukov and Dwight Eisenhower. I'd make sure I'm going to say everyone's name right uh, before I actually give the speech. I've always been fascinated by that friendship. I've always found it interesting that those two men became friends. And so I've been writing a lot about it. And of course, I want to do an alternate history about it because while it's not a very common what if, Zhukov becoming the leader of the Soviet Union around the same time as Eisenhower, considering their friendship, I feel like there's some potential there for some interesting alternate history. Um, I talked a little bit about this, I think, on Discord. I find it interesting. One thing is that how like Eisenhower suggested to the Soviets, like, hey, how about it might be easier for us to like, you know, get along better if we just knew what other people were doing. There was no secrets between us. How about we have you allow our spy planes to fly over your territory unmolested, and we'll do the same for you. And that way, everyone knows what everyone's doing. We don't have to worry too much about it. Um, and while most of the Soviet leaders are like, no, just no, we're not doing that. Zhukov, strangely enough, was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, which may have contributed to him eventually getting kicked out as defense minister. But I think part of it is not part of it is because he knew Eisenhower and kind of trusted him. And uh, also, I think, he was a guy who saw war on the Eastern Front. And I think he too didn't want to ever revisit that again. And I think he too also was like, yes, we should do everything we possibly can not to cause a war between us. And it's just things like that, sort of, issues like that. Like, of course, the story of like Eisenhower basically being the one who gave Zhukov a Coke, which made him addicted to it. It's one of those stories where it almost sounds like it's fake history. It might be. And yet I can't help but feel like it's an interesting way of looking at their friendship. I'll talk more about this in the speech itself. And I hope you guys all get tickets. If you use the code ALT, ALT, you get a discount. So just keep that in mind. But I hope you guys check it out. Like their friendship was just very fascinating to me. The short time they spent together in Berlin, partying in Moscow, talking about fishing, Zhukov sending him Eisenhower a bear rug as a gift. It's all just kind of like, it's almost like an improbable friendship, especially when you consider what would eventually happen in a few years with the Cold War and everything like that. Very interesting stuff. So I haven't been paying attention to the chats. Let me see here. Have I watched the new Fallout season? No, not yet. I wasn't a big fan of the first Fallout. It was fine, I guess, but I was just sort of like I reached that point where I was like, I'm not that interested. Maybe I'll check it out. I my brother who has watched it said it was pretty good, so I might have to check it out as well. Um, mm. Yeah, like, that's an important part from the Good War I didn't even think about, like, there was, the first time they met, soldiers met, and there was, good relations at first, and why wouldn't there be? They had been fighting the common enemy now for a few years together, and, that meeting meant that, "Oh, the war's almost over. They're gonna go home soon," and I think there was someone in Studs interviewed, I think if I remember correctly, and Fire Lord, please, since you probably read it a little bit more recently than me, I think there was a guy who still celebrated that event in Chicago of all places. I'll have to pick up the book and take a look. Saying like remembering like one time we were allies. You know what? I'm going to write a note for that. Hold on, just a second. I want to make sure I track that down. I completely forgot about that. I'm just thinking about that right now. Uh, celebrated meeting. So that might be interesting for the speech. Maybe, maybe not. Um, the writing's going well. The conference is at the 28th, so I have some time. I'm not cutting it too close to the wire. I think I'm basically halfway done with the speech. I think I've covered all the historical context I need to get through before I actually get to the speculating about what would Eisenhower presidency and a premiership for Zhukov would mean for the world as a whole. There are, of course, going to be limits. I have to be careful not to fall into the usual great man theory trap. And I have to at least, acknowledge that there's going to be people in both countries who are not going to want this. The hardliners in Eisenhower's own cabinet, the hardliners in the Soviet Union. That's going to be something that have to concern about. There's likelihood Zhukov is not going to be a premier for that long. So who comes next is going to be. But if they can, maybe I have notes. I have notes of things and thoughts about what I would like to what I think is potentially plausible. At the very least, you might actually see some serious disarmament talks and maybe some action on that in the 1950s of all places. You might see Eisenhower be a little bit more willing to restrain some of his hawks in his cabinet, being like, maybe we don't have to go topple this government in Central America just because they happen to let some communists into their party. Maybe we just don't need to do that. Things like that. If anything, there would definitely be hopefully less spending on defense, which means money can go to other things in both countries. Yeah, he talks about that in the second section of book 1. Thank you. I'll make sure to track that down. I gotta remember reading that. An interesting idea for alternate history: a world where Vlad Dracula was counterpart to Alexander the Great and followed his path. That's interesting. So I'm guessing he conquers all of the Middle East all the way up to the Indus River. That would be fascinating. Extremely difficult too, all things considered. I think I posted a map I found a few weeks ago that had Vlad being sort of the Christian answer to a vampire King Arthur. So if you guys follow any of my Map Monday posts on Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr as well, I think I do that as well. Check that out. That's pretty good. But I have never heard of Vlad conquering so much, at least human Vlad. Maybe vampire Vlad could have a little bit more success. Although, as probably you've probably heard, Vlad Dracula is not supposed to be Dracula. That's apparently Bram Stoker was pretty clear, and a lot of other vampire historians will be like, no, 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 they're not connected. They're not supposed to be the same person. Maybe inspired, I think, but certainly not the same person. Although not everyone follows. I think the Kim Newman in his Anno Dracula books does say like, no, 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 they're the same person for the sake of his timeline, which is fine. I enjoy those stories. They're fun and they're weird and they're gory. And I do like how, in the later books there apparently is a vampire state in Transylvania. It's a shame we don't get more details about that because that'd be kind of interesting. So, but yeah, Vlad's an interesting character. Uh, one of the recent Sidewise winners also involved him. That one involved his brother becoming possessed by a demon and him teaming up with the Ottomans to defeat him. If you guys check out that short story, definitely. Let me make sure I remember what it's called. A Brother's Oath by L. Breyer. You can find it in A Bit of Luck, Alternate Histories in honor of Eric Flint. That was put out in 2024. Although I do believe Breyer has published the short story as a standalone. So you can definitely find it there. Hey, Victor. Good afternoon from Chicago. I remember the England book being... Firelord. I remember the implication apparently that the book to being reviled by Romanian intelligentsia in the early 20th century for being a xenophobic jab at their national hero. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I could see why they might not be all that happy about a real person being described as a monster who sucks the blood of people. People specifically being white Anglo-Saxons in England. There's I can see why they might be a little, upset about that. Eastern European preying on poor defenseless English, especially all things considered. Here's another thing: the Magyars didn't migrate through the Carpathians, but occupy Kiev and Rus. Imagine a massive Hungarian empire to the east. Yeah, that could be something. I guess you sometimes find some interesting ideas about some of those later migrations by the Magyars. My heater just went on, so I'm sorry if that's causing any problems. Maybe I'll change how this thing works if that is causing issues. I'm blanking on the name. There was a short story that had all of those later migrations being much more successful to the point where you had Vikings, Magyars setting up colonies in North America. So, yeah, that could be interesting. I always kind of liked some alterations you get where Poland is the one that ends up, creating a massive empire in the East. I think I did one of my own too, a video of that several years ago. Let's see now. You think I would remember the stuff that I do since I'm the one doing it, but at some point I completely forget about everything I make. At one time when I was writing articles for Amazing Stories, I ended up spending a good week writing this article I was really excited about and spent a lot of time perfecting and getting ready. And then on the day it was supposed to be published, there was something tickling me in the back of my mind. Like something seems familiar about what I just wrote. And then sure enough, I checked back through some of my other publications and was like, so I'm using the actual mouse pad on my computer instead of my mouse, and it's causing a lot of problems. And I end up discovering that, I wrote this same article about a year ago. Oh yeah, okay, now I remember. It was, what if Moscow was worth a mass? I remember this one. That was when I took that one guy, I think Sigismund, I think his name was, and had him be a little bit less of a Catholic zealot and more willing to sort of figure out a solution to keep Poland and Russia and under the same sort of empire. And I remember that. That was a fun one. I like doing that kind of one. Uh, let's see what other ones here. Fire Lord Markland, pretty iconic given they often use Dracula as a way to attract tourists these days. Hey man, whatever makes you money. It's like this. It's like Salem, Massachusetts, really leans into the witch stuff. They want people to show up and spend money on cheap crap about witches. So I got to respect that. And it's fun. Although, I guess it depends on what exactly happened. I was watching this one YouTuber who was visiting the site of the infamous Donner Party, and apparently the community there, while they do recognize, like, yes, this happened, they don't make a big deal out of it. There's a museum you can go and check it out. There's places marked where you can see something, but you're not going to see like a bunch of stores and celebrations for the time a bunch of people succumb to cannibalism in order to survive. So something to keep in mind. Some places will embrace the darker, more supernatural aspects of the kind of stories tied to them, like places that have like cryptids, famous cryptids and stuff like that. While other places are like, no, we're not going to make a big deal out of this. Skench, hello there. Hello to you too. Ronano Donovan, get your vampire shaped bag, I guess. Yeah. Vampire shaped cereal. I wonder what kind of like stuff, if you were running some sort of vampire themed event, you would actually sell. I mean, I guess you'd want to sell steaks, vampire hunting things. That would probably be cool. Capes, everyone likes a good cape. Crosses, holy water, stuff like that. You could probably make some money, get people all decked out and have them go walk around the woods for a little bit, searching for a vampire, like people search for Bigfoot. That could be a lot of fun. Stumble into some sort of abandoned, graveyard. That could be. I've been trying to get the kids. There's this. What do I call it? There's this graveyard near where I live. That's allegedly very haunted. And I've been trying to get the kids to go visit it one of these days for like around Halloween, just to have a little fun. But they're so far against it. And unfortunately, Elena, my wife, she has not supported me in taking the children to a supposedly haunted abandoned graveyard. It's abandoned because it's not really used anymore. The people who initially lived around the region have long since moved out, and no one's. I think there is some sort of organization or trust that keeps an eye on it. It's inside of a forest preserve, so someone is maintaining the property, but it's not used for burials anymore. Not even sure if there's any families connected to the people buried there who are still alive or around. But one of these days, I would love to take the girls there to check it out. I'm just checking my phone. Put it on silent so the vibrations doesn't do it. Hey, Arturo, how's it going? Ron O'Donovan, trying to imagine a Count Chocula equivalent for Poland. Jan Herk Tchaikovsky, maybe. And I'm sorry, buddy. You've wrote a few times, but I'm not sure how to say your name. Because I don't think I can read the language you're writing in. But are you familiar with something called accelerated progress? It's like when, for example, in the 90s, people had permanent bases on the moon. That was the case in the Sailor Moon universe. I don't know if I'm specifically aware of that term. I did not know they had moon bases in the Sailor Moon universe, but it's been a while since I've actually seen that anime. Although I've been watching Team 4 Star's abridged version that they put out. They did like Dragon Ball Z abridged, old internet kind of like show. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. It's really funny, and so is the Sailor Moon one. Fenwickism, sup nerds. It's good to see you again, buddy. Fenwick here. I know he's written for Sea Lion Press, so go check out his work, guys, if you haven't already. Yeah, all right. I don't remember moon bases in Sailor Moon either. But you get some of these animes from the era. I think having a moon base at the time seems like something that would come up from that era of animated show like that. A moon base is definitely something that so much science fiction has tried to put in. It almost seems like it's kind of like, oh, why didn't we get one of those things? And like probably because it'd be really expensive and it's really far away, and no one probably saw the point of it at the time. It's a shame though. I would have loved to have a moon base. Um, Fire Lord. Oh yeah, For All Mankind season 5 comes out in a month. Despite previous two seasons not living up to the first two, I'm hoping this one does see some improvement. Me too. There's another show I haven't watched. You think I would have, but it's just another streaming service I have to pay for. I'm sure there's other ways I can get it, but I really don't want to. Um, so how did that work? Like, was the ancient kingdoms on the moon? Could you breathe on the moon? Like, did it ever explain what happened? Like, was the moon went full of life and then suddenly it's all death now? What does that ever explain? Because there's like a Sailor Guardian for every planet in the solar system, but some of those you really can't live on. Did they ever explain that? Okay, apparently I'm being told it was in the Magna. It was written from the first film adaptation, as the Moonwalkers were in the. Okay, well, there you go. I definitely didn't read the manga. Yeah, yeah, Fenwick, that's true. It would be hard. It would be the same issues trying to supply like a colony in North America. Comes down to like why didn't the Vikings have a colony there? It's like it was really hard to reach even at that time, and they really didn't have the ships to do it. And if you have a hostile neighbors nearby too, it makes it really hard. All right, Laura. I would say if you have to at least watch the first few seasons, those two are great. I like 3 and 4. Yeah, people have told me that. Sean McKnight, some of you might know, great alternate history map maker. That's usually been his opinion. The first season is pretty good. Last two, not so much. So I'm just reading all the stuff. I'm falling behind here. Yeah, I do really think I remember that from Ministry of Space. There was that scene. I think with the black astronaut. Do they call them astronauts in there? I don't remember. Finding water. So yeah, you basically need that to be able to do it. Yeah, I can easily see that happen, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, where oftentimes people moved not willingly in large numbers. Um, it's basically a lot of history of the early Austro-Hungarian Empire too. Like before it became the Austro-Hungarian Empire, just constantly the Ottomans moving in and moving, and then of course everything fell apart. And everyone moved again. I'm sure there's a lot of abandoned graveyards all around that part of the world. Hey, RJM3. Yeah, you don't ever hear about what did happen to those guys? Like they unleashed an evil witch. Did they just go home and just like not tell anybody? I mean, they must have found out eventually. There was giant monsters roaming around, but it's you don't want to think too hard about the Power Rangers lore. Everything just kind of keeps going, even though every once in a while, a somewhat major city in Los Angeles is attacked by giant monsters and robots and things like that. Honestly, the lore for Power Rangers is pretty weird. There's time travel, there's parallel dimensions, and most people just like, I guess this is happening, but we don't need to do anything about it. You never see the military get too involved in fighting Rita Repulsa and the other foes with the Power Rangers. Ooh. Hold on a second. Discord is now blocking me here. Firelord. Actually, one idea that I feel would make for a good television would be a space race, but with late 19th century nations, somehow doing a lunar standoff between London, Washington, Berlin. Space 1889, I think, is what you're thinking about, because I remember they basically have that with the various different European nations on Mars and things like that, and you can, get sort of, ships and things like that. I think that's a tabletop game if I remember correctly, so that would probably be a good way to Probably something good you can adapt for television. Thanks, Fenwick. I'll have to check it out. Purely insane idea. Sauron, Sauron moved to Austria-Hungary and gradually began to subjugate it in the form of some handsome aristocrat. That would be kind of funny. I wonder if that makes Constantinople Minas Tirith. That's how I always kind of picture Minas Tirith, as being basically just the Constantinople of Gondor. So that could be kind of funny. Would he be in? I wonder if he would be in Vienna at the same time Hitler, Stalin, Freud, and Tito are, because having them, oh my God, having some of those guys become the Nazgul. I think that would be actually really funny, in a really stupid way. Uh, Hitler given one of the rings of men. I actually kind of like that idea. I actually kind of like. I hope someone does that. That'd be kind of funny. I'm sure Bruce Monroe has put some thought into a Power Rangers lore thing for his ASP thread at some point. You know, I could check. I wonder if he has, because he's done so many other things. His one on 2012, the film, um, I always thought was probably one of his like best ones. I will occasionally go back and read that again, just because of like how good it was. How just he made that what is ultimately just like a really dumb idea, and just made it like just really filled in all the details and just try to make it work, and how that whole thing played out. And he even did like something afterwards, like how did humanity survive after the whole disaster and everything like that. It was really cool. And I'm not seeing anything specific called Power Rangers, but who knows? Maybe he's using a different term. There's a very problematic season where the Power Rangers are cops. Aren't they space cops too? I think there was a couple times where they were somehow cop related. For me, I always like how we get Power Rangers by Japan trying to adopt Marvel Comics for Japan. Yeah. Yeah, it would be really good, just seeing like everything like slowly break down in the lead up to 2020 from multiple different perspectives, and how they deal with it, the conspiracy and everything like that. I would definitely check it out. According to the wiki, the Moon Kingdom explanation just they had advanced technology and they had a dome. Does it explain how they got there? Like, why are there humans on a lifeless moon able to build a dome? Like, I guess this is some ancient civilization that got this there beforehand, which happens a lot in science fiction and stuff like that. Here's an idea probably no one has used. Yukio Mishini took power in Japan after a devastating epidemic, the new Japanese empire in the 1970s. I don't know. I've been doing so much Japanese alternate history lately, from them being colonized by the British and the Russians to the coming war with Japan, which ended in the 90s. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would be a way interesting way for the Cold War to develop when there's suddenly a much more militaristic Japan running around. Can you do a video on the Call of Duty Modern Warfare storyline and its realism? I assume you meant. Maybe. I guess there's always a possibility. I've always wanted to do one where is that the one where Russia starts a war and invades everybody? Because I've always wanted to do that one. Maybe I should wait until things are kind of resolved in Ukraine. But yeah, sure. Maybe we'll do that one of these days. I did the ghosts. That was a fun one. That occasionally will. Recent events has caused that video to sort of become a little bit more popular. I'm getting a lot more views on it ever since certain things happened in Venezuela. But I still occasionally will go back to that one, because I did like what I did there with my version of the Federation. I thought it was pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, I've seen the Japanese Spider-Man has a giant robot. I hope he, appears. I think he's gonna appear. I don't remember. I hope he appears in the next Spider-Verse because I think that would be a lot of fun, to have a giant robot running around too. I love those movies. I can't wait for the third one. It's been taking forever, but yeah, animation is hard. I get it. Counterfactor in the ethology, the ifs of history. One of the ifs: if Lincoln's family moving to Mississippi instead of Illinois, Lincoln becomes president of CSA. I find the idea of an evil Lincoln funny. Um, yeah, there's that. Occasionally, you'll see that. That's I've happened a couple times. Like I remember a short story where I could have swore some Union general, because of circumstances, ended up fighting for the CSA at Gettysburg. And I read one recently where, because of circumstances, Sherman, of all people, ended up fighting for the Confederacy and ended up marching through Ohio. Um, it's definitely, there's definitely some room there to have generals end up on different sides, or some of the figures at least. Um, my I've always I my spoiler alert for my Halloween video, but I really do want to do one on the Donner Party, because apparently one of the people on that in that group tried to get Lincoln to join, tried to get Lincoln to actually go to California. And maybe if Lincoln was just having a bit less luck in his career back in Illinois, he might have taken the offer. And the idea of cannibal Lincoln sounds actually kind of funny to me. I think you could have some fun there. Um, Sorry, but nothing Emmerich has made will ever live up to Moonfall. It is why he has made nothing else since. Um, I never saw that one, but I used to watch a lot of Emmerich. One of these days, this is. I keep thinking about doing it, but it always seems like such a big project. I want to watch every one of his movies, specifically the ones that are on a conspiracy theory kind of related ones, um, because conspiracy theories appear so often. 2012 conspiracy theory. What was it? The Anonymous was based on a conspiracy theory about Shakespeare. There's movies and things about like weather machines, and Day After is based on conspiracy, or just weird pseudoscience and things like that. There's always this sort of like underlying like fringe theory to all of his films, and I don't know how much of it he believes himself, or what if he's just mining it so he can make movies. But nevertheless, it's really weird that he this has become a thing he does. Even The Patriot, of all things, is kind of based on sort of pseudo history about, like, not pseudo history, but like a misconception about the American Revolution and how it was fought and won. And there, I think there is something there that, like, taking time to be like, this didn't actually happen. This already won't happen. Uh, sorry, I had to talk about Roland. Spiders movies are difficult for me. The video style gives me motion sickness. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I do enjoy them. I think the same studio who made them has also made the recent Puss in Boots movie, The Last Switch, which I enjoyed as well. A movie about a talking cat in boots shouldn't have been that good, but it was actually surprisingly well done. But yeah, I can say by the way it's animated could be difficult for some people. Sorry, I'm just reading stuff now. I should probably say it out loud. A federation from ghosts would look interesting in a world where the Cuban Missile Crisis ended nuclear war. I mean, yeah, definitely. It would probably be one where the Soviet Union just didn't exist anymore. Um, they really didn't have the capacity to hurt the U.S. all that much, or at least destroy it. But the U.S. certainly did, despite what people assumed at the time. But the U.S. probably wouldn't have come out of it unscathed. They would come out of it hurt, and they probably wouldn't be able to do much. Which having Latin America take advantage of that would certainly be interesting. Yeah, yeah. So finding a way to get Mary Todd to say yes, however that's done, and putting the family through that is what really, because it is a horrifying experience, just sitting in the middle of a frozen wasteland with nothing to eat, not sure if you're ever going to survive. What would you do? It's like it is a scary thing to imagine, and the idea of Abraham Lincoln of all people having to face it sounds interesting to me. Like, does he survive? If he survives, what happens? Like, for the most part, people tend to be kind of sympathetic to people who have to resort to cannibalism or survive. I mean, look at that like rugby team who crashed in the Andes. You know, those guys were treated with a lot of sympathy. They even got a chance many years later to actually play the game they were supposed to. So, I could see him, you know, not necessarily being shunned, but certainly I don't think he's going to go into politics. And then, what does he do in California if he gets there? And, what happens with Lincoln not being there? It's stuff to think about. But yeah, that's so far what I'm planning for my uh, my Halloween themed video this year. Speaking of videos, I'm not planning to do any videos this month. I know it's been a while since my last video. I'm working on the intelligent speech video, and then after that, I'm going to do probably a short video before I work on some bigger videos over the summer and things like that. So yeah, I guess another reason why I wanted to do this sort of like impromptu chat with you all, because there might be a while before you see anything on this channel from me, but hopefully you guys like this. Where else we are? Another crazy idea. Japanese troops during the capture of Nanking were influenced by the god Corn for Warhammer 40,000 became bloodthirsty warband. Sure. That could be kind of funny. Although I got to imagine even the Japanese high command would be kind of like, what the hell's going on? You know what I'm saying? Although if that happens, I'm assuming the emperor, who would have been alive during that time, since he'd been already thousands of years old at that point, would probably intervene to put a stop to that. Just like he slayed the dragon from Mars and all that kind of stuff. So it would be funny until the emperor intervenes. And I think you could do that story, but it would definitely probably have to be like, it would have to be more of a secret history, like something bad happened, the emperor had to come and stop it, and then, or any other sort of perpetuals who are with him at the time, and then everyone would just be like, let's just pretend this didn't happen. which could be something Warhammer could do. I don't know. I would love to. I'm not sure if this exists. I shouldn't make assumptions here, but I would love if Warhammer put out like a historical, like having their kind of characters and species interact with humanity during different periods of their history. I think you could find a lot of authors who'd be really good at writing that kind of stuff. I think that'd be a fun one to do. Because again, the emperor's supposed to be around for most of that kind of stuff, somewhere doing something. I think he was at one. I think he's supposed to be Alexander the Great. He may have been Jesus. He may have been a lot of other people. So he's around. Although I got to imagine some people would be like, "Why is this guy 8 foot tall? How is this even possible?" I think because he uses magic to make himself look smaller or something like that. Who knows? But still. Since most other AH YouTubers seem interested in it, I was curious if you had any intention of making any more videos on Israel, like one about the 6 Days War or Suez. I enjoyed your 1948 war video. Oh, thank you. I enjoyed making it. I would love to do one on the Templars. No, not those Templars. Specifically the sect of German Christians who called themselves the Templars and wanted to colonize the Holy Land around the same time Zionism was trying to do the same thing. I found such a group existing to be pretty fascinating. As you can imagine, their project didn't go well with World War One. And then suddenly Palestine became British territory, and the British didn't really like having all these German nationals in their colony, especially when World War II came along. Fascinatingly, like those German Templars were pretty pro-Nazi. You can find pictures of Nazi flags flying out of their buildings in Jerusalem, of all places, which by itself is almost one of those things that looks like alternate history, but isn't. I would love to do a video on that. I had honestly planned to do one a couple of years ago, but then the war with Gaza happened, and it became a sort of uncomfortable topic to talk about. And after talking with some people whose opinion I do respect, I decided to not make the video. So it's in the back burner. I got notes. Maybe one of these days I will actually sit and do it. But I would think it'd be very interesting how to talk about Zionism, Palestinian nationalism, and of course this group of Christians all sort of wanting the Holy Land at the same time, and how that would change things. So we'll see. One of these days, I might do that. It would be goofy. Uh, Not sure what you're calling goofy. I'm assuming it's the Warhammer one. Crossover H idea. The atomic bomb test in the Pacific Ocean prompt a war between SpongeBob's people and the humans. Sure. I don't know how even to say to that one. I've never been a huge SpongeBob fan. I've caught a few things and sure it's funny. My kids have watched it, but they never really got into it like they've done with other stuff. They're still really into Bluey and of course K-pop Demon Hunters, but SpongeBob, not so much, surprisingly. Message retracted. Well, I hope it wasn't anything too bad. RJN3. The Emperor may have been Judas. Yeah, that's possible. I guess it's nothing ever official about what exactly is, and the lore is always changing, so who knows exactly who or what he was. Fire Lord, pretty sure the atomic bomb test in the Pacific Ocean are implied to have created SpongeBob's people. Yeah, Bikini Bottom. And of course, the nuclear tests have sometimes been linked to Godzilla as well, waking him or them up. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bikini Bottom, definitely. So then, how does that explain the squirrel, the squirrel who goes down to study them? Is why is there a hyper intelligent bipedal squirrel interacting with the mutant fish? Is that ever explained or implied, or any kind of explanation implied? Is that canon, Fire Lord? Does SpongeBob actually know Godzilla? Because maybe they do. I once had a class with Dr. Gabriel Rosenfeld where he talked about the possibility of German Templars founding a Christian state in Palestine as the Central Powers who won World War One. In fact, he edited an anthology. I wonder if I can see it really quick. Oh, there it is. Just a second. Oh no. Yeah, he did this anthology. Whoop. What Ifs of Jewish History. And I believe that's where I first heard of the story. Let's see who actually wrote it. Yeah, What If a Christian State Had Been Established in Modern Palestine by Derek Jonathan Penslar. That's where I actually heard about the idea. I'm not sure where I would go for them, how they would do it. I've thought about the whole Central Powers in World War One, but man, that's such a big change. There's so much other stuff that goes into it. I feel like I would be like, anyway, let's assume the Central Powers win World War One, but ignore all that so we can just focus on this one spot right here, because you have such a change in in politics and global geopolitics. Like I just feel like there would be different people involved. I don't know. I would have to think about the point of divergence. I wouldn't want to make it too alien because I don't. Then it's like I'm talking about, I don't know, like the German Austro-Hungarian Federation involvement in Gaza in opposition to the British exiled kingdom in India. You know what I'm saying? You can get pretty silly with that one. Sam's from Texas. Haven't you been to Texas? Those squirrels are like that down there. You know what? I've only visited Texas briefly, so you might actually be correct. I don't know. Another crazy idea: the RDA military expedition from Avatar got caught up in a space and ended up in Tamriel from Elder Scrolls. I haven't really played Elder Scrolls, so I wouldn't be able to comment too much on that. But yeah, I'm sure that'd be pretty weird. Although them ending in Dark Souls, I think it would be pretty kind of messed up too. Do we want a SpongeBob and Godzilla crossover, or SpongeBob versus Godzilla crossover? It's got to be versus. It absolutely has to be versus. And I'm honestly surprised they haven't done it yet. They've done so many other Godzilla crossovers lately with DC and Marvel and everything. Was it Marvel? I know. I think it was just DC. But it was Power Rangers. I think Power Rangers fought Godzilla at some point. Could Godzilla even kill SpongeBob? Nothing can kill SpongeBob. We've actually been thinking a lot about movies that happen in the same place and this might have run to each other, like Transformers: Rise of the Beast and Paddington in Peru. Hey guys, I gotta do something really quick for a second, okay? Be right back. Ooh, sorry about that. Running to like Transformers: Rise of the Beast in Paddington in Peru. I'm thinking about that Transformer comic where Optimus actually stepped on a deer. So it might not be great for Paddington. And see, victory cannot look like an Allied victory. UK and France would keep empires, and Germany would have all foreign Russia to exploit. True, and I guess even a Central Powers victory, does that mean the Ottoman Empire still wins too? Because they were already basically losing. Well, I don't know. I guess it would depend. Like, if Germany does better, does that mean the Ottomans do better, or are the British still able to sort of overwhelm them? It would take 20 million sales to kill SpongeBob. I agree, RJM3. So when this stream buffers, does Mitro freeze up in real life too, or is that just the computer? Am I freezing up? I'm sorry. Oh, I got a blanket here. It gets cold in my basement. I'm getting ready for a Super Bowl. The Bears aren't in it this year. It was good to watch them, but I'm still wearing my custom jersey for it. I can't. No, that wasn't me freezing. This was just me thinking there for a second. Yeah, so you kind of get my problem. Like, even if the Ottomans win better, like they probably too wouldn't like the idea of there being a German colony in Palestine, right? So I'm not even sure if you can use the Central Powers victory one, unless the Germans manage to convince the Ottomans to give them that territory, which they might not actually. I always found the shackled to a corpse logic for a German victory in World War One. Without massive reforms, AH and Ottomans are not going to handle things well. Heck, imagine IRA tactics in the Balkans. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, it does seem like any German victory in World War One would be short lived, because unless it happens really early in the war, um, which is unlikely, Germany is going to be exhausted. France and Britain will unlikely both be defeated and completely kicked out. Russia, yes, but it's unlikely Germany would have the resources to, you know, maintain their authority of such a huge landmass. And again, like, Austria-Hungary was a mess. The Ottomans were a mess. It doesn't seem like they would have been able to benefit too much from that. I think I think I can discuss this in my own World War One. And that one, it's like I still had the Germans lose, but while they still kind of come out of the piece better, they have their limits. They still like are exhausted from the war. They're not going to be able to change the course of the Russian Civil War. They're not going to be able to put that much control over neighbors. So you never know. Strong chance the Ottomans pull out Italy in a Central Powers victory scenario, feeling betrayed by their allies, possibly Russian gains, and they were already well on their way towards fascism. That's, I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know enough about that to really comment on that. Could you have a fascist Ottoman Empire or fascist Turkey controlling much of the Middle East? It's possible, I guess. I don't know. That's something to think about. I mean, I guess if things get really crazy in some sort of Central Powers victory time, like maybe even you could see all of the colonial empires getting involved and intervening. It's like Germany and France and Britain, just to sort of like figure out what to do with that. And maybe in that situation, that's when Germany gets a hold of Palestine. Although I don't know about that. It seems like the British would be really quick to want that territory still, because of the Suez Canal, unless they lose that in the alternate Great War. I don't know. What do you guys think? Could there be a fascist Ottoman Empire or fascist Turkey that has the territory of the Ottomans? Anyone want to comment on that? Let me know. Oh. Interesting thing to think about. Oh, but hey, guys, thanks for joining me in this little impromptu stream. I'm probably going to cut it off in the next couple minutes. Um, I just, like I said, I just want to take a break from what I was working on in the speech. I really hope you guys get your tickets for Intelligent Speech. I'm really looking forward to it. I was really excited when they reached out to me. They, from my understanding, is it's mostly been a podcaster thing, but they were trying to expand with other content creators, and someone wanted to uh, thought I would be a good idea for it. Mostly because of my posting on social media, which, oh God, what have they actually seen? Um, so yeah, I'm really excited about it. I really hope you guys come and take a look at it. Ataturk was low key fascist, but y'all ain't ready for that conversation. Yeah, sure, maybe he was. When I play Hearts of Iron, I always seem to have. This is the older versions. I always seem to be able to get Turkey on the side of Germany. So maybe that's a possibility. I mean, Turkey joining the Axis powers. I think someone has to have at least speculate about that at some point, right? That seems like someone must have done that, right? I don't know. I mean, you could probably make a lot of interesting World War II alternate histories for the Middle East. The plans of what to do if the Germans ever reached Palestine, the fight in Iraq that was mostly just a over briefly sideshow. But think about that getting a bit worse. Turkey, of course, joining the side of the Axis. We know the Soviets and the British invaded Iran. What if things got crazy there? And of course, there was the invasion of Syria for the Middle East was a World War II, and yet it doesn't really get as much interest from not just historians but alternate stories as well. But there's probably some scenarios you can work out there to make things a bit more interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of good people involved in it. Hold on, let me pull up. I hate using this thing. I should have found a way. Who else is involved? You got Pontifex will be there, Pax Britannica, the other half podcast, Grand Deuce, Wittenberg, Westphalia, at Two Brute, the best betrayals. That's going to be looks like one of the what's the word for panel discussions. So that should be fun. Jack will be a history of China. Three Ravens podcast. There's a lot of people. People. History of Persia will be there. So definitely got to check some of those guys out. Where is the stream? Oh, there it is. I wrote an Allied victory double-blind what if where Germany and Turkey became the Axis powers equivalent. That'd be interesting. That's true. Turkey would provide access there. Oh man, I don't have time to think of something else. I don't have time. I want to do so many other things. Now so many people keep talking about this. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is something I didn't think about. I'm like, no, bad. Don't make me do that. RJM3, you got an Ultra History channel. You go make that. Maybe I'll do it one of these days, but you feel free to use that. Go ahead. RJM3, when are you going to make your next video that we talked about? When's that coming out? I don't got time to mention alternate ways for millions to die in war. I got a speech survey. Yeah. That's basically my problem. I got a day job. I got a family. I got a speech to prepare for. I can't think about potential genocides right now. Oh, man. All right, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me. Go get your ticket for Intelligent Speech. Remember, use code Alt ALT. I don't know how to talk. Code Alt ALT. You get a discount for that. I want to hopefully see you guys there. I need people actually listening to that who like me, so that'd be nice. As an attorney who's a nerd, preaching to the car, absolutely. Yeah, cold alt. Thank you, Fenwick. So I hope to see you all there. And then once that's done, I'm going to go back to making videos. Who knows? I may even make a version of my speech for the channel, so that you guys who, for whatever reason, didn't get to see it can still maybe hear the scenario. I've been thinking about it, but I'm not sure yet. But definitely go get your ticket. I hope to see you there. Thank you for being here. Have fun tonight. If you're watching the Super Bowl, I'll be watching along with you. Otherwise, yeah. Bye.